Hey, shalom, shalom, shalom. Wow. First and foremost, call Allah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Dash. Double honors once again go out to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who continue through the Holy Spirit to provide this truth. All right, this is Nama with DC Camp, and once again, this is going to be a video, hey, for you unbelievers out there, and at this point, you know, uh, hey, you're just through. All right, this once again we talk about the curses that identify our people. Well, this is another, I'm sure, um, continue to bring out this truth uh, and more get under our enemy, the nation of Edom's skin, because they like more than anything for this truth that's coming out. I mean, and it's just like, the dam broke, you know. Here again, we're talking about the Penobscots, all right, a Gadite tribe, and it says here they don't want ancestors scalping to be whitewashed, and this is from the Independent, all right, and it goes on to say most Americans know Native Americans, all right, endured atrocities after the arrival of European settlers, but again, this is something that's swept under the rug. They twisted it, they um, spun it to their advantage, all right. It says wars, disease, stolen land, which is true. It says, but it's far uglier than that. Members of the Penobscot Nation in Maine have produced an educational film addressing how European settlers scalped, killed indigenous people during the British colonial era, spurred for decades by cash bounties and with the government's blessing. I found something really fucked up in uh, reading this and other articles related to this. And I'm going to share that. Let me read down a little further. It says, it was genocide, said Dawn Neptune Adams, one of the 3 Penobscot Nation members featured in the film called Bounty. She said the point of the effort isn't to make any Americans feel defensive or blame. And this is where there's a disconnect, because the whole point, well, we're out there on highways and byways. Yes, the truth must come out. We don't give a damn how they feel, all right, personally, but so much has been done to protect these little fragile pieces of shit, and I'm talking about so-called white people, all right, at our expense. It's like, who gives a shit? But to, at this point, have these feelings, and this is a problem with Gad, all right, with all that's been done to them, and to some, well, hey, I can't say to some extent, but hey, we got a lot of, Southern Kingdom out here too. The mental damage, well, spiritual too, because this just speaks to a defeated spirit, all right? No, we're out here on the highways and byways. We're that troublesome property, all right, that they talked about, all right? In some history books, we're those ones that are saying, no, fuck this. We're going to bring it out what you did, and we're going to keep bringing it out. That's part of, hey, what does it say in Hosea 6 and 5? Let's get that real quick, all right? Because this is what was, how it was designed to be. We can't go out here and hang with these Edomites with their blessing. Their blessing is a sword, That means, whoops, it says, so truth is going to bring this devil down. This is Hosea chapter 6, verse 5. It says, therefore have I hewed them by the prophets. I have slain them by the words of my mouth, and thy judgments are as the light that goeth forth. So this is what they don't have a defense for, all right? Oh, sure, they would like us to come out there with their blessing, guns and other weapons of war. Of course, that's straight up suicide. That's the spirit, that's the blessing that was given to him. All right? And in the end, it's going to do him in. All right? Continuing on with this, it says, The filmmakers say they simply want to ensure this history isn't whitewashed like so much else is by promoting a fuller understanding of the nation's past. At the heart of the project is a chilling declaration by Spencer Phipps, Lieutenant Governor of the province of Massachusetts Bay. Issued in November 1755, it gave His Majesty's subjects license to kill Penobscots for this entire month. The reward was about $12,000 in today's dollars, all right, for the scalp of a man, and half that for a woman's scalp. The amount was slightly less for a child, so man, woman, and child. Don't the scriptures say that they would not pity either the aged or the young? I'm paraphrasing. All right. Hey, there's no getting around these prophecies, all right, to identify who's who. It says settlers who killed indigenous people were sometimes rewarded with land in addition to money, expanding settlers' reach while displacing tribes from their ancestral lands. Savages. That's what these pieces of shit have been, are, and always will be. They are savages. And yet, the word Indian in itself means savages. So they called the people over here who were very peaceful and tried to help them, they demean and degrade them because, well, they wanted to kill them and take what was not theirs. All right, so they dehumanize them, call them savages. That's what Indian means. All right, and like we always say, this devil has so much to pay for it. He will pay. It says the declaration is familiar to many Penobscots because a copy of the document was displayed at the tribal offices at Indian Island, Maine. If every American knew the whole history of this country, even the dark and uncomfortable parts, it would help us to get along better and to understand each other better. I'm taking it by reading this that this person is unacquainted with what's going on with critical race theory. All right, that's just what I'm getting from this. That's the whole point in them labeling it like that. They don't want to know. They don't fucking care. All right. It says both Europeans and Native Americans engaged in scalping. Okay. But English colonists greatly expanded the practice when the government sanctioned the effort with bounties, the filmmaker said. The first known colonial scalping order is from 1675. I don't think that's true. It said that's just a few short decades after the first Thanksgiving in 1621, when pilgrims gathered with Wampanoag people for the harvest celebration. All right, who was Passamaquoddy, this is the guy Chris Noel, and wrote, I bet he's an Edomite, you know, you got that $5 Indian thing from the Dawes Act and the Dawes Roll, all right, if you know the history of that. These white people paid to be on those rolls, therefore they could claim some inheritance. They have they're not part of the bloodline. All right, see, this is a very treacherous devil. All right, that's why he's called the devil. Devil just means liar and deceiver. That's all it means. All right. It says if you lived during the Plymouth Thanksgiving, it says all told, there were more than 70 bounty proclamations encouraging so-called white colonists to kill tribal members in what's now New England, and another 50 government-sanctioned proclamations elsewhere across the country. All right, state and colonial governments paid out at least 375 bounties for indigenous people across New England between 1675 to 1760. All right, so let's look into this a little bit more. And I pulled one up here, and it says, who began the practice of scalping in U.S. history? It says Jerry Anderson, August 4th, 2016, comments off on who began the practice of scalping in U.S. history. That's a vicious, nasty practice, all right? It says one of the myths of American history is that scalping was a vicious and brutal practice invented by Native Americans to terrorize early settlers. Of course, they're going to spin it, but if you know the true history of that, they did not start um, the murder. It was, as I read earlier in that other article, it was the Edomite, the so-called white man, because that's just his nature. It says, this is not true because scalping predated by nearly 2,000 years of world history the arrival of Europeans in the New World. Actually, it was an old European tradition brought to the New World and used in an attempt to rid the continent of the Native American presence. Early Dutch and English settlers were offered a monetary reward for the killing of Native Americans. But how could one prove that one had killed a Native American unless you brought the body to a government official? This was a very difficult thing to do, roads and travel being slow, tedious, and primitive at the time. All right, it says, early colonial roads were at best no more than paths through the wilderness connecting areas of settlement. It was decided that the scalp of a Native American, a very identifiable part of their appearance, would suffice to claim the scalp bounty offered to any so-called white person who killed a Gadite, or a Native American as they call it. It says the practice so enraged the native tribes of early America that they retaliated in kind against white settlers with much ferocity, and over time it was forgotten that the Europeans were the ones who had begun the practice in the first place. Get a load of that. It became a stereotype in the propaganda war against the native inhabitants of the continent, proving to generations of white settlers and homesteaders the cruelty and subhuman behavior of a people who deserved extermination. Ain't that some shit? As is often the case, they start shit, all right, and then they put it and blame it on somebody else. That goes to their nature also. Let me see if I can pull up something real quick. Whoop, no, that's not it. Let's see. This is something that they're known for even to this day. When you think of those Edomites that occupied the land of Israel and what they do to the Ishmaelites. This is called, let's see. Let's see if they can pull it up. All right, it says, let's see. Covert aggression. Let's see. It's not what I'm looking for. Let's see. Wait a minute. Hold on. Let's see. I think this is 2005. I read this article. Here it is. Let's see. Nope, that's not it. Hold on. Come on now. Let's see. Let's see. It might be here. Hold on. Let's see. this is. Let's see if the site has a search. Hold on. Let's see. Now, I'm just gonna have to. Yeah, because it's taking way too long. What it is, what they would do is dress up like I'm talking about the Israelis. What they'll do is they'll dress up like Arabs. They'll do some shit. Everybody thinks it's them. In the meantime, this is to drum up support. Uh, your typical like false flag, but it's the methodology. All right. And everybody else think, oh, those dirty Arabs, those terrorists all along. Turns out they did this. They did this in the French and Indian War here on the North American continent. I think that was from 1753 to, I think it was roughly a 10-year period, something like that. It's been, hey. Anyway, but they were known to do those things and commit all kinds of atrocities. Guess what? It was blamed on Gad. All right? Covert aggression. All right? Yeah, it'll take me a long time, so let's go back to, let's see. All right, so yeah, this is what we've been trying to tell you. This is who you're dealing with. All right, you're never going to get any fair shakes. This devil just has to go. This is why in Obadiah it gives you, all right, the solution. In verse 18, they're going, as a people, they are going to be gathered up and burned up. There'll be no need for them. And who in their right mind is going to shed a tear? I tell you who. It's going to be 2/3 of our people, because they are completely fucking gone. They worship this so-called white man. All right, this is their God. That's why he's got to go. The very planet will not survive if this piece of shit is left, is allowed to live. They have got to go. There's no, let me rephrase that. There are no redeemable qualities in an Edomite. It goes deeper than saying the white man when you really understand what's going on. Typically speaking, yeah, that's representative of them, but you got to understand, if through generation and generation of coexisting and intermingling, all right, you have so-called Edomites that look like our people. That's the whole issue with, or idea behind, the parable of the tares. All right? That's what it's telling you. Because we have a limited capacity to tell who's who. That's why it tells, it warns about taking action, because, the angels would have to do this. All right? Like I say, we have a limited capacity to determine, that's not a Jake. That's, no. That's, a perfect example is Mayor de Blasio in New York. His son looks like our people, got the big afro, or at least used to. And just from the outer looks, that's why there's warnings in the scriptures about looking on the outward man, all right? You're not supposed to do that. And this is one of the reasons why. So initially, just upon looking at a tear, that's how they wiggle their way in amongst us and undermine us. All right? It says, let's see. It says, so-called white Europeans then encouraged the practice of scalping for monetary gain. All right, we got that point. Let's go back to the original article. Now we're talking about the bounties. All right, but I wanted to prove something else. Now I'm going to jump ahead of myself. I want to go to an earlier article because it says here that they say it began in 1675. Let's see, I had something else lined up here. What was it? Oh, scalping in America. Let's see. I have here, remember it says 1675. All right, I have here, it says scalping was over 2,000 years. We already know that. Herodotus wrote in 440 BC that the Scythian soldiers scalped their dead enemies, softened them, and used them as napkins. Damn. And the Scythes, or Scyths, lived in the Black Sea area of Europe. All right. Now going on down, let's see. It says, no, there's one earlier. Hold on. I think I went ahead of myself. No, wait a minute. All right, it says Governor Charles Lawrence of Canada issued a resolution calling for scalping in 1756 against the Micmac. All right, and we do hereby promise by and with the consent of His Majesty's Council a reward of 30 pounds for every live male Indian prisoner above the age of 16 years brought in alive, and for a scalp of such male Indian 25 pounds, and 25 pounds for every Indian woman or child brought in a... What? You got to ask yourself, what has changed? For those of you that keep saying it's getting better, wow. Now, here's the thing initially, when I started out, here's the point I was trying to make. I found something out. It says, this proclamation is still on the books. A motion in 2008 to reverse it did not pass. However, the Canadian government says it is not in effect, but it's still on the books. And it was not reversed. The fuck out of here. Wow. Here's one of their heroes. It says Hannah Duston, the first woman in the United States honored with a statue, was honored for scalping Indians. The statue shows her holding Indian scalps in her left hand and can be seen in Boscawen, New Hampshire. I guess I said that right. Boscawen? All right. That's a statue right there. Let's see. Oh, here it says, the Dutch governor of Manhattan, Willem Kieft, offered the first bounty in North America for Indian scalps in 1641. So we're talking about 34 years before the previous article said. All right. Only 21 years after the Puritans landed at Plymouth Rock. The Massachusetts Bay Colony first offered $60 per Indian scalp in 1703. All right. The English and the French introduced scalping to Indians. Backing up the other article. All right. The governors of the colonies instituted scalping as a way for one Indian tribe to help them eliminate another tribe. So they used Gad against Gad. All right. And to have colonists eliminate as many Indians as possible. All right. So they used them to clear the way for these evil motherfuckers to come in and take more land. That was their method, early method of gentrification. All right. Wow. Oh, New Hampshire, it says they authorized scalping Indians in 1724, paying 100 pounds for each male scalp turned in. Women's scalp typically brought half of what men's scalps did, and children's scalps brought half of women's. But so-called white men got paid for bringing in the scalp of a 10-year-old Indian child. As the most racist killers, Colonel John Shiverton, I remember him, said before ordering the attack on peaceful Cheyenne on the banks of Sand Creek, "Damn any man who sympathizes with Indians. Kill and scalp all, big and little. Nits make lice. And you know how I remember this particular devil, Colonel John Shivington? Because in that same Sand Creek massacre, look it up, he killed, I believe it was an elder, I don't know if it was a chief or not. I remember he was up in age, and and it's pretty fucking sick. He castrated him, and he used his scrotum as a tobacco pouch. So yeah, these are the people you're dealing with. All right. It says the infamous Paxton boys killed and scalped 20 Indians in Pennsylvania in 1763. Even though Benjamin Franklin wrote a broadside attacking them, nothing was ever done to punish the killers. They had killed the last living members of the Conestoga tribe. Colonists also killed and scalped Indians in Virginia, Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, Illinois, Colorado, Arizona, California, New Mexico, and other states. Indians returned the favor, killing and scalping white people in as many states. So, Gad did fight back. All right. Mexico had its own bounty laws on Indian scalps. In 1837, the Mexican state of Chihuahua passed a law offering a bounty on Indian scalps. Indian men brought $100, Indian women brought $50, and Indian children brought $25. A hard-working plainsman might work all year and not make $100. So you see the incentive there. So the reward for Indian scalps was high. Apache and Comanche Indians were both popular with scalp hunters. One bounty hunter in 1847 claimed 487 Apache scalps, according to Madley's article. John Glanton, an outlaw who made a fortune scalping Indians in Mexico, was caught turning in scalps and ran back to the U.S. before he was caught. He and his outlaw gang had collected over 500 scalps, which in today's money would make them almost millionaires. The Yuma Indians killed him in 1850 and ironically scalped him. Hey! Yes. All right. It says in 1814, Indians killed 7 members of the Moore family in Illinois and scalped all of them. Miner John James Johnson and his companions killed and scalped 20 Apache Indians in 1837 during the Johnson, Arizona massacre. The members, Apache chief Juan Jose Campa was one of those killed. The great Apache chief Mangus Coloradus, Red Sleeves, may have been present, and it turned his heart against the Americans for the next 30 years. So it took that incident for him to say, well, wait a minute. At the end of the day, whether we, go against her, these are my people. All right, and he said, you know what, fuck that. He says he was captured and placed on a fort in New Mexico and shot and killed when he tried to escape. And if any of you remember the movie Geronimo, all right, and what happened at the end, and right before the end, where he told the scout that they had used, that, like I said, I read earlier, where they had used Gad to catch Gad, all right? And he told the scout, he said, now I know where your heart lies. And at the end, they both ended up what? In the same place. Hey, that's what you get for serving the devil. All right. And continuing on, time's sake, I'm just going to, ask that you read the rest of this because, I will go, well, maybe I can make it. Who knows? Anyway, John Hart, one of the Fannin County Rangers determined to take Texas from Mexico and make it part of the U.S., killed and scalped 3 Caddo Indians in Texas in 1838. And I have to say this because so much has been lied about when it comes to American history. And in this period where I'm at, in the 1830s, you had the Alamo, and it turned out what we learned in school was just a big fucking lie. All right, about um, Sam Houston and all those other so-called heroes. Uh, they were effectively cowards, and the whole thing actually had a lot to do with slavery of our people. You know, slaves ran down into Mexico. All right, it's a lot of history that was left out intentionally. All right, this is why it's good to know these things. All right, it says Major Mark Lewis and his men killed and scalped 4 Comanche Indians on the, I guess it's Llano River in 1841 and collected the bounty on them from the state of Texas. Indians killed and scalped 3 men in Kansas during the Fort Man Massacre in 1847. Kit Carson, perhaps one of the most famous guides and mountain men, also scalped several Indians in his career, which took him all over the West. He scalped his first Indian when he was 19 years old, but he also married an Arapaho Indian woman, Singing Grass, and had a daughter with her before she died. But see, that's the thing. We know in all cultures, it's the men that are the threat. All right. Even now, these devils, they're taking crafty counsel against us, and part of that crafty counsel in this hip-hop world, they're actually getting or selling the idea of our men wearing dresses and actually, being fagged out, and our people get all caught up in that shit, and they're not realizing that this is being done on purpose. This is actually a war against our men. And for the most part, these black women are in on it, Hey, that's a nigger woman. He says, my book has dozens of instances of scalping recorded in it, and the book is not yet complete. All right? That's it on that, but again, this is part of the curses that were placed upon our people. And this is, let me get this right here. This is Jeremiah 15 and 5. No one's going to, this is Jeremiah 15 and 5. For who shall have pity upon thee, O Jerusalem? Remember, Jerusalem is a people before it's a place. Or who shall bemoan thee? That's show pity, have, show compassion to or towards. Or who shall go aside to ask how thou doest? And that's one of those point being nobody. It's rhetorical. All right. This is 8 Lamentations 1, 12 through 16. Let's get that real quick, because this is something that, and it's so sad, our people actually think people love them when all of this is set up to destroy us. Is it nothing to you, all ye that pass by, behold, and see if there be any sorrow like unto my sorrow, which is done unto me, wherewith the Most High Yahweh hath afflicted me in the day of his fierce anger. Remember, we're under the curses. It's something that Genghis Khan had said. One of his, I can't say it verbatim, and it's probably going to take me a while to look it up, but something to the effect that if your God sent someone like me against you, your God did not like you very much. All right? And that's true. We are being punished, and look who he set against us. The lowest piece of shit that's ever existed on the face of the earth. The basis of men, as Daniel 4 and 17 says. This is who was set up to rule and punish us. The so-called white man. He's not white. He's an Edomite. He's red. 13. From above hath he sent fire into my bones, and it prevaileth against them. He hath spread a net for my feet. He hath turned me back. He hath made me desolate and faint all the day. And that when we are faint, we are desolate. All right. Let's go to 14. The yoke of my transgressions is bound by his hand. There's no getting out of it until he lifts that curse. They are wreathed and come up upon my neck. He had made my strength to fall. Why do you think all these slave revolts never worked? Nat Turner, Denmark Vesey, all this, none of this worked because that's Deuteronomy 28 in the last verse, 68. And at the end of that verse it says, none shall buy you. That buy means redeem when you go into it. No one's going to save you until what? The Lord comes back. 15. The Most High hath trodden underfoot all my mighty men in the midst of me. He hath called an assembly against me to crush my young men. Think about all the things it says was taken from us in Isaiah the 3rd chapter. All right? It says, the Most High hath trodden the virgin, the daughter of Judah, as in a winepress, and our women are fucked up. They are set against us because we as a nation, all right, are the Lord's woman. We stepped out on the Lord, so therefore, look at how our women treat us. That's a curse. That's the reason this is happening. All right. Oh, let's see, did I read 16? 16, it says, for these things I weep. Mine eye runneth down with water, because the comforter that should relieve my soul is far from me. My children are desolate, because the enemy prevailed. And he wants to keep us in this low estate. Psalms 83rd chapter, all these nations have come against us to keep us, or I should say, they are confederate with each other in keeping us from becoming a nation again. That's why you're having all of these G8 and G20 summits and all these think tanks, Brookings Institute, Tavistock Institute over there in across the pond in London, England. All these things, what is it, the RAND Corporation, the CFR, all these things are designed against us. And the dumb motherfucker is just going to say, oh, that's conspiracy theory. Well, Psalms 83 identifies the conspiracy, you fucking idiot. Hey, so with that, I've gone way over. I apologize, just, got in the spirit. I wanted to get that. So, hey, hopefully everybody is edified that happens to view this. All right, and salutations to Akim out there on the highways and byways throughout all four corners. Hey, shalom.